Hi, this is Margaret from Margaret's Crafts. I want to show you how I do black and gray hair. But for now, I'm just going to show you black hair. The colors that I use are the C3, C5, C7, and C9. Now, if you're going to do gray hair, you move more. You can even use like C1, C3, C7, C5, and C9. For black hair, you start off with the C9, C7, C5, with maybe just a touch of C3. And I'm going to start off with showing you how I do the curly hair. I do it in the same exact way as I do it with brown, but I just use the other colors. The first color that I use is going to be the C9. And like I said before, I just start off by doing my outline. I don't use black because black covers up everything. So I usually go around my edges. I'm gonna say the highlight is coming from behind, so it's gonna be mainly in the center part of the hair. But remember, anyway, down at the neckline and everything is usually a little darker anyway. And as before, with my hair, you know, I do the swirls for my hair, and I do the same thing as I did with the brown, but I use the gray tones. And because my highlight is in the center, I put a lot of it out towards the edges of the darkest color first. And I'm just barely touching my image. Just barely touching it and doing my swirls and dashes, and it just makes for a curly looking hair instead of just all filled in. And I do this randomly. There's no pattern in it, but remember, I'm going to leave a little highlight in the middle, so it's going to get thinner towards the center and heavier towards the outlining. I'm not showing shadowing at this time. I'm just showing you how to lay down color for this particular color. Now I can go into my C7, and I'm going to continue to add down my swirls. I'm not filling in yet. For the black hair, I never just color filling it in unless it's like a straighter hair, then I fill in. But if we have the hair like this, which you can do like for her to have curly, this doesn't have to be black hair. They can be a Caucasian hair that's a little curlier. And since the center is going to be my highlight, I'm still going on. You can even go up to C10. Okay, I'm going to add in a little bit more black because I don't want it to be gray. Not black, but the C9. I don't want the gray look. I want mainly the to look black. But if you use black, black is just going to cover over everything and you're not going to see anything. Now I'm going to go back in with my C7. But remember, my highlight is here. And then I'm going to add in some C5 right to this center area, because that's where I'm saying my highlight is coming straight from the back. And I just keep going back and forth to see if I like you know, the areas that I have. And I'll go back in and I'll add some more darker colors, but I don't want to overdo the dark first. And then now you see all of these little white areas that's left. Then those are just little areas that are going to be just tipped to fill in. So I can still keep that curly look. I don't want the hair blended. For curly hair, I don't like it blended. For straight hair, I'll blend it. Oh, I'm filling it in with C3. All the remaining colors. And I'm just dabbing it on those white areas that are left. And that just gives it a little bit more highlight. I use this image because then I can show more of the hair, because she's sitting in a corner because she's been naughty. And I'll just dab it to fill in all of my areas. And that's how I do that. That's how I do the black hair. Now, if this was an older lady, I would do it the exact same way, but I would use the lighter colors first and then go in and add a little bit of the darker colors, because I want more of it to look gray. I would probably start with either my C7 or C5 and go down from that to make it look more gray instead of more black. But that's how it looks. Now my next hair, with it being straighter, this is done the same way as you would do any straight hair. You would start off, for me, I start off with my darker colors, which is going to be my C9. And I like to get my tips in with the darker colors. And I'm just barely touching to get these straight areas in. This is a little goth girl. And I'm doing like a feather stroke here to tip the edges of the hair in. Now remember, like I said before, with this coloring of the straight hair, I'm going to blend it. So I'm just going to add in like waves of color to blend it in. Then I'll go to my C7 and I'll branch out from there and figuring where I want my highlights to be. And I'll just grab on to the C9 and add the C7 to it. But remember, up against the hair, up against the face line, and up against the neck is going to be my darker areas. So I kind of like feather it out from there. And my tips, I always tend to make the darkest. And you know, back here behind her neck is casting a shadow on that hair. Now I'm going to go back in some more with my C7 and just bring the C9 out a bit and the C7 with it. Then I'll go to my C5 and work some more of the C7 with the C5. And then I'm going to do my lightest, my C3. This is as lightest as I'll go for the black hair. Now remember, when you're working on this, I'm going to try to blend this all in now. When you're working with this, you don't want to overblend for one thing, but you don't want to leave too much light because it starts to look gray and she'll look like an old lady. So, but I just wanted some highlights of the lighter color. And you can always go back in and add your darker color. And right where your part is, where you're parting your hair to bring the hair to the other side, it always tends to be a little darker there. So I feather it darker the one direction, and then I feather it darker in the other direction. And you're going to just keep working with these colors, bringing the other colors, combining them, and blending them out. But remember, we still don't want a lot of this gray to be there because we don't want her to be an old goth girl. But leave areas to highlight. But for the C3, I leave very, very little amount of area for the C3. Because that just, for me, it's just too light for me. But just tiniest bit of areas for the highlight. Then I'll go back in with my C5 and blend them all out a little bit. But don't overblend on the highlighted areas. I went out of the line a little bit, so I would just touch that up. But I wanted to just show the coloring. Okay, and that's how I would do the straight black hair. I would do it all blended and just leave a little bit of the highlight. Thanks for watching my videos.